Hey, I'm back. This is my 5th time doing these, and I'm getting a little more comfortable. So it's been pretty fun just getting my brain to start thinking about all these complex topics. And I'm going to get started. I told my daughter I would talk a little bit about some Grimm's fairy tales. So I went into yesterday of breaking the fourth wall, which, like, lifting the curtain, seeing what's really there, seeing behind the scenes of a movie set. And there definitely seems to be a veil over everything. Just seeing that there's all this live footage of what's going on in Europe right now, and like a fairy tale, like the big bad wolf is coming to get us. But I did put a link to the Gutenberg.org digital library. Just found a really short one. I'm going to be talking about briefly a story called The Traveling Musicians. So I won't read it all. You can go ahead and read it on your own if you like. There's a link in the description. But basically, it starts off with a donkey. He is not cutting it on the farm anymore. He fears he's going to be killed by the farmer. So he leaves. He's like, I'm going to become a musician. So he collects these other bunch of reject animals, all not doing their jobs, well, all facing death. And they go to make it out in the world on their own. They want to be a pack of musicians. So they go out together. They come upon a full house that we're told they're full of robbers. And the animals, they just are making some noise outside of the house, and they scare the robbers away. They take over the house. The animals take over the house, and when it's quiet and dark in the middle of the night, one of the robbers comes back, gets scared by the animals, and he runs off, and he tells his friends, oh my god, there's an evil witch in that house. So the animals just get to live in the home for the, presumably to enjoy the rest of their lives. So trying to figure out what this means. Is it just a silly story? I think it alludes to some important, timely topics. One being that we outlive our usefulness, right? And if you've listened to any of my talks before, been talking about my studies with plant medicine, and my teacher's perspective is it's so rude to just think of a plant as useful. Plants usefulness. What's it good for? It's kind of sad because none of us wants to be just viewed as, what are you good for? Like, oh well, I'm a really good babysitter. I used to take a lot of pride in what I did for work, and I still have a sense of pride. Although my career definitely didn't go as far as maybe I could have. I just never pursued anything in my industry beyond the task I was given. I think because I was always aching for more, my jobs sort of came to me somewhat conveniently. And then I was a gig worker, a freelancer. So I would just get a call And that was the most exciting feeling, to be wanted, to be useful. And I really did strive to better myself, even doing the same jobs for years. Uh, I always looked how I could do them better. How could I get How could I get along with the crews? And that really helped in my development, understanding people, uh, becoming a problem solver, looking out for who's carrying something really heavy. Can I get the door for you, or can I give you a hand? And that is just ingrained in me. And I have not been perfect. I have made a ton of mistakes. And today I was yelling at my kids, and it turned out I was totally wrong. And I was really tired, and uh, it, I just said to them, I'm sorry. It's not. Uh, that's not fair for me to treat you guys that way. So I never want to claim that I'm any kind of authority on anything, but I want to speak from the heart. And this story, it just caught me in many different ways. I've been going over this the last few days and thinking about that rejection. Now, certainly, many may relate to that in different experiences that we've had in our lives. But when you have nothing else, you think, okay, maybe I can make it on my own. And I've started and failed a lot of different ventures. But yeah, it's that sense of, okay, I can do something more. I'm not limited. You can feel really bad for yourself. You can feel like um, uh, what's happening right now is, to many people, is unjust. And yet that resilience, it carries us forward. And thankfully, that's the best lesson I think we can dig out of this, is that, perhaps fate is a myth. Perhaps it can exist in a sense. Perhaps fate could mean, well, if we don't do anything differently, when we outlive our usefulness, we're gonna get killed by the farmer, the cat that won't chase mice, the animal that can't pull the plow anymore, the old rooster. Whatever it is, I think an important lesson here is that sense of, nope, I'm going to choose for myself. I'm not predetermined for anything. You can always turn in a different direction. You can always walk out of the room. And if something doesn't feel right, listen to those instincts. I think that's something that's really important to me. So the animals, they find each other. Starting with the first, he sets off, and he, one after another, finds others in his same situation. And so they then are emboldened by this. Oh, okay, I'm not destined to die. And even though I don't know that we can make it as musicians, we're just animals. But hey, the more that come along with us, this could be pretty cool. This could be a great spectacle. People would love this. So how they find this house, I find it interesting. We're told they're robbers. Like the image it evokes is these big, tough, burly guys, right? And they take what they want and they do what they want. And yet these little creatures who are deemed useless, they fool them. They fool them good. And then they blame it all on a witch. Isn't that funny? There's always the bad guy, right? There's always something supernatural that's the bad thing. He didn't even realize it was the cat that scratched him. And, all these other encounters with the different animals that helped just convince him that, oh no, I am never going back there again. And it gives the animals this happily ever after ending. I just loved that. I'm still working it around in my brain. And it makes me think of just the stories we're being told right now. One story I want to talk about in depth in the future is Ender's Game. It's a book and film, and I would definitely suggest checking that out. I found an audio version of it, a couple different audio versions of it just on YouTube. So I don't have any links to that for this episode because I am going to go into that more in depth in the future. Right now, I kind of want to talk about the big bad wolves. Maybe in the fairy tale we're being told now is, the communists. And then versus the good guys, the Western values, our lives, our way of life is being threatened. And it's because of communists. And we have to protect our way of life. But, back to the story, like, it wasn't a witch that scared these robbers away. And maybe if it had been daylight and they hadn't been so busy sitting around their piles of money and laughing about how powerful they think they are, they can take whatever they want from people, that maybe they would have just noticed that it was like actually animals. It wasn't anything supernatural, and these are weak animals too. These are not predators. These are just the throwaways. And I feel like we're creating this scenario in the world where there's the throwaway people. And there's also a movie coming out. I'm going to look it up. My daughter was just telling me about it, it's a cartoon for kids, an animated film for kids, and it's about predators being the bad guys and how they turn good. So I'm actually really interested in that and pulling out some of the subtext in that. But I have another little animal metaphor relating to the predator-prey concept. And, if you're thinking the predators are evil, I was wearing a silly sweatshirt earlier that's a shark, cartoon shark, putting syrup on a stack of pancakes and a baby seal. And it's kind of gross concept, but they do it in a cartoon. So it's all cutesy, and it takes a second to realize what am I looking at? And for me, I think I've always had a somewhat sick sense of humor. And, I don't see the predators as evil or anything. They have to live to survive too. So the metaphor can break down because we can't just call everybody a big bad wolf. That's like their instinct, maybe. But also another predator that's that I'd like to discuss in terms of representation is a falcon. Being a hunter, known for their swiftness, accuracy, cunning, being ready to act at the most opportune time for the greatest success. Those animals were not, they did not have this goal. They maybe were just in the right place at the right time. So things just happened to fall in line for them. And maybe that is fate. Maybe if you're on a genuine path, you will find something. Maybe it's not huge riches and success and domination, but maybe you'll get to hunt that one little mouse that you need to go take back to the nest and feed your babies. And so I just think, the predator prey concept, we don't want to look at it like, okay, there's always a villain and there's always a good guy. It depends on where you're standing. If you are on the blue team and the blue team is winning, you feel that you're the good guys, you're the winners. You embody that team as you having success. And the other team, they're always the bad guys, right? That's what was funny about the Harlem Globetrotters. They are dribbling circles around the Washington Generals. The Washington Generals never win that game. It's a show. It's by design. You know who you're cheering for. You're not cheering for the Washington Generals. You're not supposed to cheer for them. They're the object of the joke. They're the butt of the joke. And who's the butt of the joke these days? The Luddites, just meaning, people who are averse to technology, maybe. And how do I relate that to this story? Well, my thought process is quite scattered, and I really am looking forward to getting into these things with well thought out presentation. But in the meantime, I think it's nice just to think about concepts, be able to rap about it a bit. And I recently came across an article. It was posted, I believe, February 8th, 2022 in the Salt Lake Tribune. Reading, watching a lot of things about the World Health Organization, the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, and their push for the 2030 agenda, digitizing everything, digital governance, digital inclusiveness, reskilling for jobs. So that just goes back to usefulness. How useful are we anymore in the new digital age? And this is becoming the great argument for the universal basic income and why it's such a good idea. And I want you to check out this link to the Tribune article because it speaks to another, you might call it myth, folklore, when you're talking about the Bible and you're talking about religion. If you're not a part of a religion, you might just laugh and think that's nonsense. And one of the things I always thought was nonsense growing up was the concept of the mark of the beast. And this article is titled The Mark of the Beast. Brian Schott, February 8th, 2022 in the Salt Lake Tribune. So back in early 2021, they rolled out our DMV, or Utah State DMV rolled out a pilot program for a digital ID project. And now it's reached the House committees. I'll have to go back and check and see where this is at now. But I wanted to link to this article because of the mention of Mark of the Beast, and it's all about people freaking out during this House committee meeting. And people saying it's a slippery slope that can lead to vaccination passports, tyranny imposed by the United Nations, or concentration camps. So it's the Mark of the Beast and fears of concentration camps upend hearing on bill to expand Utah's digital driver's license program. Now, the other thing I pulled out of this article is that it didn't get to go through. They didn't vote on it because of all the hullabaloo at this hearing. But Brian Schott says that mean the bill is dead by any stretch of the imagination. SB 88 could show up on a committee agenda again, or the House could bring the bill directly to the floor for a vote. The latter scenario is a distinct possibility since the proposal flew through the state Senate unanimously. So even like these red states, which as a former progressive, frankly, I bought into so much of the BS that's been crammed down my throat my whole life. Being raised by the television and buying into all this, I'm now beginning to read between the lines when they talk about these concepts of a globalist society and being monitored, reskilling, even the generations younger than mine. Like, I'm almost not relevant anymore being an old millennial. We're talking the Gen Zs, and I think whatever after that is Gen Alpha. I'm not even sure what they call my kids. Maybe they're in the Gen Alpha, but those are the kids that were fully raised on digital. My first computer at school was 4th or 5th grade, and we were playing Oregon Trail on dinky little computers. So it's not applying to me. It's really the kids that have had tablets since birth and have been raised by the screens. And frankly, I've done that. I've let my kids watch TV for hours, play their games, watch stuff on their computer so that I can do anything. And I'm lucky because I get to be at home now with them most of the time, and I can stop and make them food, or we'll go to the park or whatever. It's winter now, so hopefully we're going to get to go skiing soon, and enjoy the last of the winter and stuff. But we spend a lot of time outside in the spring and in the summer. So, but I'm still guilty of not maybe making enough effort to have that face-to-face time with the kids. Maybe because I'm tired, and it's really easy to just say, oh, go ahead and watch that show. It becomes a reward for me too when they're quiet. So I'm really questioning that. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to do these videos in this style of presentation. Like, I was talking to my kids, maybe when they're a little bit older, because right now they can't comprehend all of these subjects anyway. But I want them to know that I cared about changing myself, working on myself for their benefit. And frankly, I'm really close to just pulling them out of school because I was disillusioned with the system anyway, and my daughter asked to be able to go to school, and I've always said I wanted to follow my kids' lead. I want to guide them. I want to be a parent, but I also want to give them tools. I see that I want to support their interests, and I want to give them those tools. And so I did tell my daughter she can make that choice, that going to a brick and mortar school after having done an online school at home, it would be a challenge. And it has been a challenge for her, but she does like meeting friends. But man, these kids are so tired and they eat such garbage food at school. And frankly, I'm embarrassed that I've let them stay in school. I, I may let them just finish out the year, but every single day I get this feeling in my gut that it's not what they really need right now. I do want them to be able to socialize. But anywho, so reskilling the population is part of the 2030 agenda, the fourth industrial revolution. All these things we're just going to keep talking about because the media is not doing deep dives into these subjects. We're not watching documentaries from independent parties. All you're seeing is media produced directly from these folks about how great they are, their sustainability projects, and all the things that sound so good to a old hippie like me. Oh my God, I ate that shit up. And that is not to say that some of these tenets they're pushing for couldn't be positive. But I think when it comes down to organizations, the state and corporations working together, who runs everything then? It's the corporations, it's the banks running everything. And what they want us to do now is do everything off of our phones. And then what's next? A little ring, an implant, a facial scan. They have so many ideas about what they can do to fix all of society. So really, though, they're creating new economy and people will be left behind, because I already get so many job offers that I can't take because I didn't take a medical intervention that's experimental. And I was so embarrassed about my choice that my girlfriends invited me to a lunch, or we were going to go out to eat for Sunday brunch or something. And there was a place they wanted to go to that I knew required vaccinations to go there. They were one of the only people in Utah that were like, oh yeah, we're going to open up our bar again, but we're going to require vaccines. They were one of the first people to do it before any talk of mandating it. And they got some flack for it, but plenty of people ate that up. They thought, oh yeah, you're protecting us. Thank you. Thank you so much. And my friends wanted to go to that particular restaurant. And I agreed, even though I didn't have my card. They're like, are you jabbed? And I'm like, yeah, I'll see you there. And then I'm coming up with like, okay, how do I cancel? It was just so stupid. It was like, why do I think I need to lie to my friends? I mean, eventually I said, okay, I lied. I was embarrassed, and they changed the restaurant for me. They didn't punish me that day for it. But I know it's a divide because my own fear let me be a liar to some of my longest friends. And I just told them I don't know what I was thinking. I had no way out of that scenario. I had to tell them the truth or just like what, never see them. So thankfully they've known me long enough that they understand I'm weird. And they still love me. And maybe we don't see each other that much anymore, but I have maintained some relationships with my high school friends, a couple of them, and it means everything to me now because they are the few people in my life that have seen me on this journey, and I really feel I'm beginning a brand new volume of the story of my life. We're not even talking a new chapter. This is volume 2, baby. So I wanted to touch on just some of these things that are happening. It's all confusing to me, and this conversation style just is helping me process. So, what I'd like to see from authority is fair leadership. Excuse me. I want to see fair leadership, justice, reason, logic, truth, ethics, honor, swiftly turning knowledge into action. I do not want to see judgmental arrogance, domineering, unkind, and dangerous individuals. And so I'm just being challenged to see through the sheep in the wolf's clothing. I'm just going to keep paying attention. I'm not going to let myself get all freaked out. But there is some truth in what we're being told. So I think it is pretty important that we get more physical books, that we invest in our kitchen spaces and in our ability to cook and to grow food and to have relationships with people in our communities. I went out for some shopping today. I just had a couple of trips, a couple different stops on my way, and I did go to my big grocery store close to the house. Just got some dried bulk foods. The store was weird. There was a weird vibe there. And right when I was leaving, I noticed all of our different military service branch flags hanging up. So, all this kind of virtue signaling. So many people still require masks. Even my herb shop does, which is so frustrating. But I think for the herb shop, I get it because they're already seen on the fringes of healthcare and what's acceptable. And so it can be dangerous to be too different. And the ones that really are loud and bark, like the people at this Utah, in the article I mentioned, people getting really raucous, the loud barkers, they're the really easy targets. It's really easy to vilify them because they sound crazy. What are you talking about? Stuff from the Bible, Mark of the Beast? That's nonsense. And the Mormon Church is a different beast from other Christians. They don't do a lot of study from the Bible. They have their own sacred texts. So maybe they follow the Bible and they would claim that they do, but they're not like the evangelicals. They're developing what they call silicone slopes. And they really invented down there the concept of search engine optimization and all this crap that's totally ruined what Google could have been. Google is like the fake city on the movie set Like if you get too far back, you're going to see that it's just, they're not real buildings. It's just the facade. And the Utah tech industry, it is starting to make me nervous because, you're just not going to have another. You'll have other options. Like I'll still be able to carry my physical driver's license, but it'll be like writing a check out at a grocery store. It'll be like, oh God, this takes so long waiting for this lady to write out her check. It's not like you can write a check and pay at the scan your own groceries section. And I doubt that grocery stores even accept personal checks anymore. Maybe they do. I don't know. But you'll have other options, but you'll just be the weird one. You'll be called the Luddite, the anti-technology. And I am not anti-technology by any means, but it should be a tool for my convenience, not everyone else's. And I remember getting my first cell phone 20 years ago, and my friends would blow me up and they'd give me crap that I didn't answer. And I'm like, it's not for me to be available all the time. It's for my convenience. So I've held this for many years, despite still buying into a lot of the crap. So I know that I was alone today in the live chat, but this was still really, really good for me, flexing this muscle of these concepts around the story of the traveling musicians, their ruse, which was an accident. I thought that was the cool part about this story. It takes a different side than the wolf dressing as the sheep. They did not intend to be that way. On the other hand, I think there's definitely predators out there that are seeing us as the prey, us as the product. And I want to ask questions. I want to know more. I want to be resilient for what's coming. So thanks for listening once again, and we'll see what we get to next time. Good night. Drink water.